If you'd like to see a review of the Tamron 70-200 f2.8 all the way through on an entry-level camera like this one right here, which is the Nikon D3400, then stay tuned. This video is for you. Thanks to my friends at Robert's Camera, I was able to get my hands on this lens right here. This is the Tamron 70-200 f2.8 all the way through. Now, many professional photographers use this lens for various events such as weddings, and more specifically they like them for portraits. Now, the idea of being able to open up all the way to 2.8 all the way through that zoom range is really helpful. And it comes with a price though. It is much more costly than say a fixed 50. And it's heavier because it's got a lot of additional glass in here. Now, this lens is meant for either a crop sensor or a full sensor body. Now, I have this attached to the Nikon D3400. I know many of you have some entry-level cameras, and I thought you may want to see what a lens like this can do when it's attached to a body like this. Now, I also have my Nikon D600 with me. Now, this is a full sensor body. It's relatively old, but it works great. And I have attached to it the fixed 50. Now, I don't plan on using this camera at all in this video. I just want you to know, again, that this lens right here can attach to either that full sensor or the crop sensor. Now, like I do with my other videos, I'm going to start off by level setting. We have a few clouds in the sky today, and it's kind of windy out there. I'm tucked away inside this construction site so that you can better hear me. Now, here's the game plan. I'm going to start off by providing a few initial thoughts on this lens. And then we're going to jump into some demo work and have a lot of fun. I really want to put this lens to the test. I want to see what this can do with this body right here. Every shot I'm going to take is going to be taken with this lens. I'm going to shoot in RAW, and most likely I'm going to stay in aperture priority. Now, I'm going to do just a little bit of post-processing in Lightroom, but I'm going to try to keep it at a minimum, and we'll see what the end results are. Always keep in mind that I do post that metadata in the upper left-hand corner when I'm showing those images. I like to do that. That way you can see what the camera settings were to capture that particular image. And I'm going to show things like the ISO, shutter speed, and the aperture, and maybe the focal range. It'll really help you understand how that camera was set up. When all that's said and done, we're going to jump into the conclusion. I'm going to give you a few final thoughts on this lens, let you know what I really think of it. With all that said, let's just jump right in and talk about the lens itself. This lens weighs in at roughly 3¼ pounds. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but in the world of lenses, that's relatively heavy. And if you're shooting with it throughout the day, it's going to wear you down. And that's the reason there's a collar attached to this lens right here. Now, this allows you to attach either a tripod or a monopod to this lens to help offset that weight. Now, I want you to understand that when you have a lens like this attached to the body, you don't necessarily want to hold the body by itself because the weakest point is going to be where this lens attaches to the body. So hold it by the heaviest component, and in this case, it's the lens. So I want to spend just a few seconds talking about the tripod situation. Now, I have a video on tripods, and if you haven't seen it, I'll post a link in the description below. But this is my KNF concept tripod. Many tripods on the market today allow you to convert a tripod to a monopod, and that's what happens with this particular tripod here. This leg comes off the tripod and the head comes off. You connect the head to the leg and then you have a monopod. Now, I have a dedicated monopod right here. It's nothing special, but it does the trick. And again, I want you to understand that a monopod is not meant to steady the camera on long exposures. It's meant to offset the weight of the lens itself. And dedicated monopods are nice because, well, they can be used as a baton and personal protection if you want. It's kind of what I like. It's lightweight, and again, it works out well. I'll post that link in the description if you're interested in learning more about dedicated monopods. So, back to the lens itself. Now, it does feel meaty in the hands. It's relatively heavy again, and if you're shooting by hand, I don't feel like it's flimsy, and I'm going to miss a shot because it's shaking a little bit. It just feels good. Now, this particular lens right here also has VC on it, and that's Tamron's vibration controller compensation, and it works really well. It also has the ultrasonic silent drive to it, so when it's obtaining focus, it's really quiet. I have no issues with it, and I think it works really well. Now, this lens looks big, right? But I have the lens hood on it. I'm just going to take this off for you so that way you can kind of get a feel for the lens and see what it looks like without the hood on it. Now, the hood attaches to the lens like this if you don't really need it, and that way it just kind of keeps it out of the way. And again, you can kind of see what that looks like with the length, so it's really not too bad. But again, if you're out in the sun and you want to protect against the lens flare, that's really what this lens hood is all about. So, just something to keep in mind there. Now, with all that said, I want to have a lot of fun with this demo. We're going to put this through the paces and see what this lens can do. So come along and let's make it happen.
Leaving on a midnight train, take me far away from here. Full moon hill shining, pale light. I'm driving, yeah. Take me far away from here. Right now, 'cause I won't wait till I find my way back home. Right now, baby. Right now, baby. Right now, baby. Right now, baby. Catch you from the garden, better say a prayer. This ain't no place of mercy, safety. Find a hill, take me far away from me. 'Cause all our lives we play this game, dance on through, burning flame. I'm burning, baby. I'm burning, baby. I'm burning, baby. Burning, baby. Jet black threadbare overcoat. How come you don't call my name anymore? Yeah, you tell me I miss you, baby. Fell for the sky, love that you feel, night in your eyes, dirty street. My dark angel, star queen, the serpents on my feet.
I had a lot of fun taking a bunch of images with this lens right here. Now, I got in a little bit ago and I had a chance to take a look at all these images and formulate a few final thoughts. So, what do I think about this lens? Well, I really like the ability to open the aperture all the way to f2.8 throughout that zoom range of 70 to 200. It is really convenient depending on how close you can get to that subject. Now, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know that I'm a big proponent of the Fix 50 and also the Fix 35. Now, I like these lenses for a couple of reasons. One, you can open the aperture all the way to f1.8. Again, this is limited to f2.8, which is still very good. But the second reason I like them is because they're affordable. So you can get that Fix 50 for a couple of $100, whereas this lens runs about $1,200. Now, what it really comes down to is what are you going to do with that lens? Now, if you don't have the ability to physically get close to your subject, say you're shooting sports, for example, and that action's happening kind of far away or it's moving around, then you're going to want a zoom lens that you can open that aperture, again, like this, all the way to f2.8. It's really good and extremely convenient. But if you're doing portrait work and you have the ability to get in and out from your subject, and I do really like that Fix 50 again, or the Fix 35. Now, this is a go-to lens for many professional photographers just because it is so versatile. So, for example, you can shoot sports with it, but you can also shoot your portrait work with it. You're at 70 mil here, and you can still open to f2.8, so you get that nice soft background. You can also do some landscapes with this lens if you want. Now, you might be asking yourself, hey, how does this compare to that 70 to 300 that Nikon typically throws in? Or perhaps, how does it compare to the Fix 50 when it comes to image quality? When I was at the cemetery, I decided to take a few sample shots I'm going to show you in just a minute. But before I do so, I want to just kind of touch on how I did this. So I do know that the 70 to 300 maximum aperture is f4.5. So it's really not fair to set this up to 2.8 and compare it to 4.5. So what I decided to do is to go ahead and take a shot with that 70 to 300 at f4.5 and then attach this lens right here and set the aperture to f4.5. So that way we're trying to compare apples to apples for the most part. And then when it comes to the Fix 50, I decided to go ahead and set this 70 to 200 again to the widest open aperture, which is f2.8. And knowing that the Fix 50 can open all the way to f1.8, obviously I didn't want to, it's not a fair comparison, so I didn't want to leave it open all the way. I decided to set it to f2.8. And I did not use a tripod, so the composition is going to be just a little off here. Now, with all that said, I want to start off and show you this image that I first took with the 70 to 200 set to f4.5. Now, something I want you to note about this image is the grass that's just to the left of the cross. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you another image taken with the 70 to 300, again set to f4.5, and take a look at the grass to the left of the cross on this image. Now feel free to pause this video and go back and forth and take a closer look at the grass between these two images. And I think what you'll note here is just the bokeh on that 70-200 is a little better in my opinion. Now the next image I'm going to show you is an image that was taken with the 70-200 set to f2.8, and then I'm going to follow that up with another image that was taken with the fixed 50 set to f2.8. Now again, feel free to pause the video, look back and forth on these, and I'm not really seeing much of a difference between these two images. So I feel that the image quality between the 70-200 and that fixed 50 are very, very similar. Again, it's just in my opinion. Ultimately, it really comes down to what you want to do with this given lens. I really like the lens. I think the quality that results from this lens is great. Again, it's really that cost difference between $1,200 and something like the fixed 50 of $200. But there is so much more versatility with this lens right here. Again, I'm going to post a link in the description below, so if you're interested, jump down there and take a closer look at it. Now I'm on Instagram, and if you're not following me over there, I'm going to post a link so you can follow me if you want. We'll share a bunch of images and have a good time. If this video has helped you out, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. It's called Real World. More often than not, I post videos about photography and technology, but you never know. So until the next video, take care of yourself and be safe.